Nathaniel Brooks stepped into the grand entrance of Brookstone Mall, a sprawling establishment he had built from the ground up. However, today he wasn't walking in as the billionaire owner. Instead, he wore a faded green janitor's uniform, complete with scuffed sneakers and a plain baseball cap pulled low over his face. His goal was simple: to see firsthand how his employees treated those they believed were at the bottom of the hierarchy. The mall buzzed with life, teenagers laughing in groups, families shuffling through stores, and couples admiring the bright holiday displays. Nathaniel felt a pang of pride for what he had created, but that pride quickly mixed with unease. He had heard whispers about unfair treatment, favoritism, and even racial profiling happening within the mall. Those whispers had brought him here today, disguised and unnoticed, to witness the truth for himself. As Nathaniel pushed a cleaning cart toward the central fountain, he caught sight of Marcus Hale, the mall manager. Marcus, tall and broad-shouldered, wore a crisp suit and carried an air of superiority. His sharp green eyes scanned the crowd as if searching for someone to scold. Nathaniel had barely reached the fountain when Marcus's gaze locked onto him. "Hey, you!" Marcus's voice boomed, cutting through the hum of chatter. Nathaniel stopped and looked up, keeping his expression neutral. "Yes, sir." Marcus strode toward him, his polished shoes clicking against the tile floor. "What are you doing standing around? That spill near the food court isn't going to clean itself." He pointed to a small puddle of soda near a cluster of tables, a group of teenagers nearby snickering as they watched the scene unfold. "I was just about to," Nathaniel started, but Marcus cut him off. "Save it. I don't pay you to stand around and make excuses." Marcus snapped, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Get over there now." The humiliation stung, but Nathaniel kept his composure. Without a word, he grabbed a mop and walked toward the spill. As he worked, he felt the stares of onlookers, some amused, others indifferent. The teenagers whispered and laughed, one pulling out a phone to record. From the corner of his eye, Nathaniel noticed Sophie, a young sales associate at a nearby clothing store, standing by the entrance. She looked uncomfortable, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. For a moment, their eyes met, and Nathaniel saw a flicker of sympathy in hers, but she quickly looked away, as if afraid to be caught showing kindness. Once the spill was clean, Nathaniel straightened and turned back to Marcus, who was standing with his arms crossed, a smug smile on his face. "Next time, move faster," Marcus barked. "This mall is a place for paying customers, not slackers like you loitering around." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Loitering. The word carried a weight that wasn't lost on him. It wasn't the first time someone had judged him by his appearance and made assumptions. Memories of past incidents flashed through his mind, being followed in stores, denied opportunities, and spoken down to simply because of the color of his skin. But those experiences had fueled his drive to succeed, to prove that he was more than the stereotypes people projected onto him. Today, he was standing in his own mall, listening to his own employee belittle him. The irony wasn't lost on him, and it only strengthened his resolve. "I'll get back to work," Nathaniel said evenly, pushing his cart toward another section of the mall. As he walked away, he heard Marcus chuckle and mutter something to a passing security guard. Nathaniel didn't catch the words, but he could feel the disdain in Marcus's tone. Back at the clothing store, Sophie watched the scene unfold from behind a rack of sweaters, feeling a knot in her stomach. Marcus had always been harsh, but this felt like a new low. The way he had spoken to the janitor, calling him a slacker and accusing him of loitering, was completely unnecessary. Sophie wanted to say something, to stand up for Nathaniel, but she knew better. Marcus had a way of making life miserable for anyone who crossed him. Just last month, he had fired a cashier for insubordination after she complained about his micromanagement. Still, the guilt gnawed at her. She glanced toward Nathaniel again as he worked quietly, his head down. Something about him seemed familiar, but she couldn't quite place it. As the day wore on, Nathaniel continued his rounds, pushing his cart from one end of the mall to the other. He noticed the subtle ways people reacted to him, avoiding eye contact, stepping around him as if he were invisible, or staring with disdain. At one point, Nathaniel paused by a bench near the escalators, leaning on his mop and taking a deep breath. Allowing himself a moment to reflect, his mind returned to the reason he was here, to uncover the truth. What he had seen so far was troubling, but he knew this was only the surface. His thoughts were interrupted by a commotion near the food court. A young mother was arguing with a cashier about a mischarged item, and Marcus was striding toward them, his face a mask of annoyance. Nathaniel watched as Marcus dismissed the mother's concerns with a wave of his hand, muttering something under his breath before storming off. It was clear that Marcus wasn't just a bad manager, he was a bully. As Nathaniel wrapped up his shift, he felt a mixture of exhaustion and determination. The humiliation he had endured today was just the beginning. He knew he had to stay the course. He had seen enough to know that the mall's problems ran deeper than he had realized, and it was up to him to fix them. He glanced back toward the clothing store, where Sophie was folding shirts and stealing nervous glances in his direction. For a brief moment, Nathaniel considered revealing himself to her, but he decided against it, not yet. For now, he would remain in the shadows, watching and waiting. The time for the truth would come soon enough. As Nathaniel continued his rounds, he couldn't shake the feeling that the walls were closing in. Marcus was paranoid, and that made him dangerous. The setup had worked. Marcus had humiliated him in front of customers and staff, hoping to push him out. But Nathaniel wasn't leaving. Instead, he was going deeper. Later that afternoon, Nathaniel caught sight of Sophie in the break room, her face pale as she scrolled through her phone. "It's everywhere," she whispered, looking up at him. Nathaniel leaned over to see a video of the incident playing on her screen, already racking up thousands of views. The caption read, "Manager publicly humiliates janitor over broken vase." Comments poured in, outrage, disgust, and support for the janitor. Nathaniel felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the opening he needed. Marcus's smug expression had faded. He paced near the office, his phone pressed to his ear. Nathaniel didn't need to hear the words to know what was happening. Mr. Collins, the regional manager, had seen the video. "Listen up." Marcus barked later that evening, gathering employees in the food court. "Corporate is sending someone to inspect the mall after all the ridiculous rumors spreading online." He shot a glare at Nathaniel. "We're going to clean up this mess before they get here, and I expect everyone to step up, no excuses." Nathaniel kept his head down, but inside, he smiled. The walls were closing in, and Marcus knew it. As the employees dispersed, Nathaniel stayed back to mop up a corner near the fountain. Sophie appeared, her voice low. "He's panicking," she said, "but he's still dangerous. Be careful." Nathaniel nodded but said nothing. His anger simmered just beneath the surface. He was tired of the lies, the intimidation, and the arrogance. But he also knew the time for confrontation wasn't yet. He needed more evidence, something concrete to make sure Marcus didn't escape this mess. The next day, Nathaniel found himself in the maintenance closet, checking supplies. The musty smell hit him, and he wrinkled his nose. As he rifled through the shelves, something fell off. A box was shoved into the corner, partially hidden behind a stack of mop heads. Nathaniel frowned and stepped closer. The box wasn't labeled like the others, and when he lifted the lid, his stomach tightened. Inside were small clear plastic bags filled with white powder. Nathaniel quickly closed the box and stepped back, his heart pounding. Was this what Marcus was involved in? Was the mall being used for illegal activities? He turned and locked the door, his mind racing. This was bigger than poor management, this was criminal. As Nathaniel pushed his cart back into the hallway, Marcus was waiting. "About time." Marcus snapped. "You disappear in there? I've been watching you, you're dragging your feet. This mall doesn't run itself, you know." "I'm doing my best," Nathaniel replied, keeping his tone calm. Well, your best isn't good enough. Marcus stepped closer, his voice lowering but still sharp. I don't tolerate laziness, and I sure as hell don't keep workers who can't pull their weight. Do you understand me? Nathaniel felt his muscles tense, but he forced himself to nod. I understand. Marcus smirked. Good, because I'm not running a charity here. Now get to the restrooms and clean up whatever mess those pigs left behind. As Nathaniel collected the shards of the broken vase Marcus had dropped, he felt the crowd's eyes on him. He wanted to shout, to throw the mop aside and tell Marcus exactly who he was. But he didn't. Instead, he bent down, collecting the shards while Marcus stood over him, smirking. The crowd continued recording, and Nathaniel knew the videos would spread. But instead of fear, he felt a sense of satisfaction. Marcus had made a mistake. Later that afternoon, Nathaniel caught a glimpse of Sophie in the break room. You did it, she said quietly, her eyes shining. You got the video out there. Nathaniel nodded. It's just the beginning. We need to keep pushing. As the inspection team arrived, Nathaniel felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had to ensure that justice would prevail. Today would mark a turning point, not just for himself, but for everyone at Brookstone Mall.